Good morning and good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. This is Gifty Annie, your host for the Intentional Beacon podcast. It is a platform where we shine light on the power of intentionality and authenticity. And also, our guests are invited to share their unique stories about how they have navigated life challenges with clarity, with purpose to make a difference. And so we all know that challenges can either break us or build us. But some of the unique stories are there to inspire us, empower us, and educate us to if we resonate with the guest stories, we can also learn from it. But today, I am so honored and delighted to have um, Mr. Snow. I can call him my mentor because he's the one who has helped me with some of the IT. He's got extensive background, but I'm not going to spend time to share. I want him to actually introduce himself to you as our listeners, how he wants you to know him. So, without any time further ado, I invite you. Thank you, Mr. Snow. Welcome to Intentional Beacon Podcast. And so, please, can you introduce yourself as a person to our audience, how you like them to know you? Thank you.
Hey, Gifty. So very nice. So incredibly happy and proud to be on this podcast with you. I see you've come a long way from getting started, which is absolutely wonderful. You have gotten started, which is the main thing. So my hat is off to you, Gifty.
Thank
Uh,
you. Thank
I
you.
will apologize to your audience because today is Saturday. I live here in
Okay.
Malaysia, and I was being lazy, so I didn't groom myself properly for this podcast. So I do
You're
apologize.
looking good already, as
Uh,
usual.
well, just to introduce myself to your audience. Um, yeah, I guess having come thus far in my life and my career, I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately, and I've my career has covered oh a long time. So, and I've done quite a bit within that time. So, I'm from Joliet, Illinois. My name is Marcus Snowden, but no one knows me as that. Only my mother, my close friends and relatives back at home in Joliet, where I'm from,
Yeah.
calls me Marcus. I'm from Joliet, Illinois, which is south of Chicago, about 30, 40 minutes south of Chicago.
Okay.
I grew up there in the early 70s and 80s. I found basketball sports kind of late in life, like when I was 12 years old. But I've taken a
Mhm.
liking to it. And I've had some mild success in the realm of basketball in the early days of my high school career. Um, uh, I won the slam dunk contest my senior year. My
Wow.
junior my junior year, we were the 1988 Sicko West champions, conference
Wow.
finals champions. Um, but I pivoted. I joined the Air Force right out of high school. Uh,
Wow.
and I joined the Air Force for two reasons. One, to get my school paid for and to travel and see the world. And I was able to do
Mm.
just those things. But
Wow.
in doing those things, I ended up serving for 24 years and had
Wow.
an amazing career. It took me all over the planet. Um, and I rounded up my military career with F-15 Strike Eagles out of Lincoln Heath, England.
Wow.
Not far from you,
Yeah, okay.
Milton Hall, East Anglia.
Okay.
Um, and I joined Special Operations in 2005. I joined DIA in 2008, and they put me in embassies as a military diplomat in embassies across the globe. Afghanistan for a year, Bangladesh, and then Malaysia, where I've served for 4 years and I retired. I
Wow.
met my wife, Malaysian Chinese, here in Malaysia, and then
Wow.
I retired in 2013.
Wow, wow.
Then the fun started. After all the other stuff happened, which was great, but I retired, and then oh boy, did the fun start.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you so much for sharing that amazing story, bio about yourself. And I also heard you in your bio, you said you had basketball was a refuge for you. Can you shed some light on that for our listeners to have a better understanding? How did playing basketball, become a refuge for you at such a young age?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So for
Mhm.
many of us in inner cities in the US, and it's no different for me and my friends in
Mhm.
Joliet, there was drugs and gangs and violence all around us. So, so I'm not sure. Well, I wasn't really sure how I felt into it, but I know that in order to play basketball, you had to have kept your nose clean.
Yeah.
In other words, you can't be in trouble. You have to do your grades right. So, and my relatives and family, they probably wouldn't have taken so nicely to me joining the gang. But some of my friends did. And that's the road I was going down until I was thrusted into basketball by one of the teachers at my elementary school. Again, I was 12 years old in elementary school, and Dean Johnson. I was tall as a kid, and Dean Johnson told my family and made me play basketball. In fact, it was in eighth grade where she helped me with my timing on my jumping, and she threw me the alley oop, and I got my first slam dunk when I was 12 years
Hooray.
old in elementary
That's nice.
school.
Mm.
I remember that. So basketball keep me help steer me clear of some of the other things that's going on in my neighborhood. Also, um, I was I didn't do well in school. I wasn't a very bright kid in school. And so when I got to my high school, I think at 14 years old, and I was playing on the high school team, halfway through, it was determined I wasn't making my grades. I was ineligible. So the second half of the season, I had to sit out because my grades weren't up to par. Um, and some other things have happened to me at that time. I witnessed the murder of my auntie,
Mm.
and my uncle at the time, he was telling me that, boy, Snow, if he said Mark, but if Annie, my auntie, Sheena Bates, if Annie's looking down on you, she would be disappointed in knowing that you didn't make the grades. And
Uh,
so that really fueled me to learn how to read because I couldn't read when I got into high school. Um, Basketball put me on the track to want to do more, and because of the guilt I was feeling over my aunt's death
Auntie.
and me not making grades, these two things fueled me to learn how to read so I can play basketball. Playing basketball kept me out of trouble.
Wow, wow, wow. I'm so sorry to hear about your
Mm.
auntie's situation.
Thank
Um,
you.
the world we live in is full of uh, a lot of chaos, but you know, that is why God has brought all of us to make a difference, turn things around. We can only be channels of blessing.
Yes.
And so, yes, a lot of things may have happened, but we have the opportunity now to turn things around, support the young ones. And I thank you for sharing that story because many will hear it. There is hope for our young ones. There's hope for any human being. And what I heard you saying was either it became your refuge because of the boundaries and where, you know, within the basketball area, the sporting areas you took. And I think that is powerful. All of us need some guidance at some point. And sometimes people feel, well, the children are of age and we let them go. But thank you for sharing that
My
powerful
pleasure.
story. Thank you.
Mm.
And so coming back to your sporting activities, What
Yes.
has been some of the highlights before I go on to your major?
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, sporting activities, the highlights of my sports. Let me just adjust my camera real quick.
that's
Uh,
okay.
I have, Gifty, I'm kind of an old guy. I've been around for over 50 years. So, and I've been playing
That's good.
basketball since I was 12. So I have so
Wow.
many. Let's see. I have a newspaper clipping. There's a team that we played in high school. And I guess this is true for every high school. There's one team that the senior team cannot, every year they lose to this team. Every
Mm,
single year in and year out, Joliet West, the school I went to,
mm,
always loses to Joliet Lockport High School. Those
mm,
boys were very, very, very good, and we always lose. But my
mm.
senior year, I didn't start the first part of the season. I didn't start. I was coming off of the bench. And my senior year, the coach started me for the very first time. And the headline during that Lockport game was my first time I started. And during that Lockport game, when the dust was settled, the headline reads in the newspaper, in first start, Snowden finishes Lockport. Uh,
Amen. Hallelujah.
so I took it to Lockport. That started my
Mm,
my desire for the game of basketball. And then
wow.
later that year at the end of the year, I won the slam dunk contest, which was pretty incredible.
Wow,
And
that's
then
amazing.
I signed the letter of intent to play for my junior college. I was actually
Wow.
going to college to play basketball, but my life took a pivot. And before I went to my first class at the junior college, I enlisted in the Air Force, and I went off to the Air Force.
Mm,
My recruiter and the coach was not very happy with me, so they basically said, because I had signed a letter of intent to play with them, they said
wow.
I can't play for any other college, which is okay because I wasn't going to play basketball. I was going into the Air Force just to,
Air Force.
again, get out of Joliet and do some other things. Um,
Mhm.
but my basketball career in the Air Force, my first duty station, I didn't realize this, but the guys saw me playing in the gym, and they came to my place of my workstation, my duty station. Um, and I remember it vividly. This black man, a chief master sergeant, old guy, short. He came up to me and says, "Why are you not at practice yesterday?" "Oh, I'm sorry, chief. I don't know what you're talking about."
Uh-huh.
Um, so then he gave me a letter, which was a profile waiver that says on there, "I am now part of the base basketball team, and
Wow.
therefore, whenever I want, I can go to the gym to work out in practice." Which
Wow.
was so my first look in the military. I had a profile waiver that says at any time of the day, how many days out of the day, how many hours out of the day I can go practice and work out. I
Mm,
used that card one time against my supervisor who was coming down on me about something.
mm.
Um, and so I said, let me try this out. So I pulled out that letter, my waiver that says, by order of the commander, you, supervisor, will release Snow to go practice.
That
He goes,
is,
okay, yeah, okay. So you say you have to get 4 hours of practice in a
yeah.
day? I say yes. Oh, it's okay. Go practice 4 hours. Okay, great. I go
Wow.
practice.
Wow.
When the 4 hours was finished, he was on site. He was at the gym.
Wow.
Now your 4 hours are finished with the commander. Now your ass is mine.
My,
Oh,
it must
needless,
be military.
needless to say, I did that only one time. But we
Oh.
became champions of the region at that year,
Mm,
and we
mm,
in my first 8 months in the military, we traveled around the Southwest U.S.
mm.
going to different bases just to play
Wow.
basketball. And
Wow.
so I
Wow.
was literally getting paid money to play basketball, which was amazing. Um,
Wow, wow, this is an amazing story indeed. Because what I heard you say, you didn't even apply for it. you were noticed, and your talents actually brought you forward to, to the notice of a commander who just gave you this.
Oh
It's
yeah.
amazing.
So
It's,
I don't I I don't like to brag that much.
mhm.
Um, the only two areas that I used to brag in, well, I don't brag anymore, but the two areas that I did brag in that I really liked was slam
Mhm.
dunking. I could jump. I could jump very
Wow.
back in the day. I could jump very high, and I was good with timing. And so slam dunking, basketball, and flying.
Wow.
I like flying. I'm not a
Wow.
pilot. I'm not a pilot,
No.
but I love
Mm.
I love flying.
Okay. That is another, special gifts. It's not an ordinary talent for anybody to fly. Many drive cars and trucks, but you are able to go above that, which
Yes.
is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. But because of time, we have to come back to you've been in military career for over 2 decades,
Yes,
which is
24 years.
another extensive area you've worked in. And you did not just work locally, you did global, different roles and posts and responsibility. That sounds quite diverse roles. What did those experiences, how did they shape your values, your where you are today, and make you see
Mm.
life? How did they? I'd like you to shed some light on that.
It's hard for me to pinpoint on just
Mhm.
how they shape my life, um, because when you're in it, when you're doing it, and for me, it was all about just trying to achieve the mission, trying to achieve those goals. I have always felt like wherever we traveled to outside of the U.S., every country I've traveled to, we were taught and we were told that you are an ambassador of the U.S. and the military, because we go to these countries and many times the places that we go, those people have never seen Americans before.
Yeah.
And even stories from my mother, being raised by my mother as a black man, we're told you have to hold yourself to a higher standard because everyone is
Mm.
criticizing you, everyone's looking down on you from all walks of life.
Yeah.
So we've had all those pressures growing up, and so I try to be the best individual, the best human I could be in these places. Now, all that stuff has culminated into now this passion project of mine called eyeballing.
Mhm.
So I've taken all those lessons, learning how to go to foreign countries, not being able to speak the language, but having the objective, having the mindset to achieve the objectives by any means necessary.
Yeah.
And I've learned that it's a lot easier to do it diplomatically than by force.
Right.
Um, so all those tools I've learned in the military, and I've been trained as a diplomat to some extent, and I've served in embassies around the globe, and so I'm taking all of those lessons that I've learned. I've bundled them up into my passion project, which is iBallin, which is international balling. It's an international competition platform where we're giving back to communities. Oh, and
Right.
you've done it just as well. You got your own team in our
Yes, I did.
program. Uh, so that's how
Mm.
I've taken those lessons and formulated into the person I am today.
Okay, okay. Thanks so much for sharing. But I like the bit that you connected with what your mom told you. The word have particular expectations of certain backgrounds, certain ethnic groups, and your mom made you aware that you are not going to match up to those expectations. I like that because not many have the opportunity to hear that. When we started, you talked about gun association and the rest that you grew up, people, which was around you as a youngster, but
Mm,
you chose, and then that is why we're doing this. Is life is about being deliberate
Mm,
and to go against all the expectations of the societies which are not serving us. And so I like those things, nuggets of wisdom you bringing out, and I want to bring it out more because people have expectations of us. We have our personal expectations, but there are lots which don't serve us. And
mm.
you make that deliberate, intentional choice to not necessarily being obedient to man, but you also to go against the expectations of the society by Black people per se,
Mm.
Black young people, tall, and this is all the about. And I thank you for sharing that. And I think if anybody is listening as a young person, they can have some hope from what you have shared. Thank you so much. And now we come back, and I think you shared some ideas about what actually inspired you to create the eyeballing. But how has it been so far? And I know you've touched on some. How would you want audience to connect with that? Please elaborate that more because that is a very positive initiative to include all young people.
Oh, thank you, Gifty,
Mm,
very much. Yeah, the iBallin brand. This is my passion project.
mm,
I've done many things in the past, and everyone in this country, Malaysia, they know Snow as the head of state logisticians. I do logistics for world leaders. President Obama, King of Qatar, Prince Charles, President Francois Holland, world leaders coming to Malaysia for official state visits. That's what these people here know me as. But
Oh, wow.
Gifty, I push I mean, it's not small. It's big stuff.
Yeah, I can.
But I push all that to the side to give way for this eyeballing brand initiative.
Yes, I can. Beautiful.
Uh, this 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 concept is my passion project, is my give back to communities because I've traveled the globe extensively. I've
Mm,
seen what international travel does for a young person. It just
yeah.
broadens their horizon, it broadens their mindsets. And so take me as a kid example, way back in the 70s and 80s in Joliet. I would have never in a million years thought that traveling around the globe would be something that is afforded to me as a young Black kid in inner city Joliet. And therefore, I would never think about it. And
Yeah.
so I designed this program here just to plant that seed to think about a young
Mm,
person's ability to travel. And if they can think about it, and we know how this goes, if you can
yes.
think about it,
It.
you can speak it. If you can
It.
speak it, you
It.
can feel it. If you can feel it,
Mm,
it can come true. And the
happen.
iBallin brand, the
Mm,
platform, is designed just for that. Wonderful
mm,
people like yourself, individual business owners, entrepreneurs, moms and pops. I'm asking
mhm,
all of them just to register their own team for
mm.
125 for 25 USD.
To
They
it.
get $25. They get a 5-man team drafted onto their team, and we at Eyeball and
Mm,
Brand, we go around the world and we grab these people to allow them. We draft them onto those teams, and we have tournaments online from the players' own backyard. They participate that way. Tomorrow we have one of our final contests, and these two kids out of Abuja, Nigeria, they're battling for first
wow.
place.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
So this is the Ibolan brand. I am, because I'm so passionate about it. It's hard for me to kind of pitch it to someone in a 30-second elevator pitch. I'm not good at that.
Mhm,
I'm too passionate. But if you want to know more about it,
mhm.
you can just hit us up on all of our social media channels at Eyeballin Official, on all social media, at Eyeballin Official on all social media, or on our website, www.internationalballin.com. Our current contest is a basketball shooting contest online. We did a
Yeah.
singing contest a couple of years ago, where
Oh, wow.
the young girl won a studio session with the professional music producer, and they made a song.
Wow. Wow,
Yes.
wow. That is awesome. I wish I was younger to participate. It's not,
Oh,
do
be
you have
careful.
any for
Oh, be
the older
careful.
generation?
Be careful. Be careful. Be careful. Because we have an over 50 league, men and women's, men and women. We have an over 50 league, men over 50, women over 50.
Wow.
Yes, you can play.
Wow. Okay, okay, that is awesome because then one can tap into that. One can
Yes,
tap into that, and I like that initiative to make a difference in the young people's lives. And it's not just local; the whole world is global, so anybody
yes.
can participate from any nation within
Mm.
their backyard and connect. Thank God for technology, and
Where else in the world can you compete in a contest on your own time in your
Mhm.
backyard on a global stage? That's what we're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
Because the people in the players in the UK, when they post their challenges, they're competing against people in Africa, people in Malaysia.
Malaysia.
They're competing globally. Yes.
Wow, 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 wow. And I don't somebody may be thinking, how does it become feasible, what practicable? If I'm in Ghana, you know,
Hmm.
um, you can compete, but of course you need the internet to be
Yes,
participant. Yeah.
this
Mm,
contest is a primarily all online contest. So as long
mm,
as you have an internet and
mm,
it's a social media contest. So as long as if you're on social media, you can compete in this contest.
mm,
Even if you're not on social media, but you have a
mhm.
friend who's on social media,
Yeah,
you can
they
compete in this
can.
contest.
I think that is very key. And I wish there was, some of the remote areas, there may be a station. Maybe we'll think more about it. Those who cannot access their own internet system because of the nature of the,
Sure.
economical reasons, then they could go to certain station and connect. That could be another way, but that is
It's a good idea.
thinking aloud, you know,
Sure.
thinking
Yes.
aloud in some of the remote areas. So thank you so much for sharing that. I will have to give you have so much to talk about, and then probably we have to
Have,
have another
have me back.
session.
Have
Yes,
me back on.
I
Yes.
would love to have you back. But can you share any final thoughts on what you've shared so far? And I think for our listeners, you've heard our brother, Mr. Snow, sharing nuggets of wisdom about his childhood, his passion, and how she became intentional to go against the odds, even though she felt she was not included in many things from what I heard him say. But now she's reached a stage where she's developed so many initiatives working with high-powered people, including Obama, Chris Charles, and the powerful people. So can you see his transition? It is because of being intentional and staying true to his mission to make sure his passion is pulled through everything she does. Do you have any final words for our people? Thank you for sharing those valuable um, wisdom to our listeners.
I'll share one thing as we go, and that
Mhm.
is there's something that I'm doing on my podcast. I'm looking forward to having you as a guest on my podcast
Yeah,
just as well,
thank
Gifty.
you.
But something
I'll
I'm doing on
be
my
happy.
podcast is I am starting to share a mantra of mine that has been with me since I was probably 8 or 9 years old. It's a poem, and the poem
Okay.
is entitled "But I Did." That's the
Yes.
title, "But I Did." And
Mm.
so the poem goes like this: But I did. I know I said that I never would, but then I thought that I never could. But I did. By Ray N, published in 1971. And so that poem, whenever I found in my adult life, whenever I was hitting a struggle or hitting a wall with anything, either financially, relationship wise, struggles with medical. My son, when he was a small boy, he had to have a bone marrow transplant. I found
Okay.
myself pivoting to this poem to help me make sense of all of these struggles and things. And so that poem is written by my mother.
Wow.
Her pen name is Ray N. She's a poet. She's a published poet. That poem was published in 1971, and
Wow.
she's an accomplished artist. So her pen name is Ray N. And so
Wow.
that poem I led in my book, Leaders with the Heart.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
so that poem I put in the very first chapter, in the very first part of my chapter, Leaders with the Heart. And hopefully it might give your viewers something to look forward to. I'll say it just one more time. It's called But I Did.
Yes.
I know I said that I never would, but then I thought that I never could. But I did, by Ray N.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I even forgot that you were a best-selling author, a podcaster. There's so much, and thank you. We should have a next episode
Please.
for our listeners to hear more about the poem, the encouraging words. The word expression, as you were sharing the poem, is that if you have any fear, do it anyway, because the strength and the change comes from us. Thank you so much, Mr. Snow, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me at this platform. I really appreciate that. And I'm sure our listeners, you've learned a lot of nuggets of wisdom to apply it in your own situations where necessary. Thanks for tuning in. So until next time, keep on shining and be a beacon in the areas you've been called. Thank you, Snow. God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.